Mine too.
Okay. Do you think whatever you want to do next week, then you guys want to I bring in?
No, I have some things.
Okay.
No, I was going to. I don't want to. We're just doing. I'm trying to keep our
But that might be a good thing to say because
This is a live
Yep.
only if you're up there. But nevertheless, we start 5 minutes before.
it won't.
Thank you.
Outside next week.
Yeah. And just a quick announcement. Go ahead and say the thing about we want to have artificial leaves, at least this year for people who need overtime. Okay? I think that's David will give you a high score. I got 56. Prelude is first. Then we've been doing the prelude first. The other service. Yep, the prelude is usually. All right. You want to see something funny? I'm gonna give you a good one. So I get 20 minutes with ours. Right, and then I open it up. It's something.
You should like these. What do you think?
Yeah, candy's not here. That doesn't. Thank you.
Good morning, and welcome to the Keene Unitarian Universalist Church, or KUC as we like to call it. We are a green sanctuary and a welcoming congregation. My name is Carol McIntyre Peel. One of the reasons we chose to relocate to Keene 37 years ago was that there was a UU church. I became a member that spring. I'm currently on the Board of Trustees and organize the wreath decorating greens table for our annual Holly and Green Sale fundraiser. This year we're offering artificial wreaths for those who are unable to have balsam wreaths. They need to be pre-ordered, so please sign up at coffee hour or contact me. In the past, I taught in the RE program and have served on the RE personnel, administrative, and budget committees. I also facilitated covenant groups. If you are here for the first time and seeking the community of other inclusive, open-minded, and justice-seeking people, we hope you'll stay after the service and join us for coffee hour in the parish hall, which is through the doors to my right, your left. To help us get to know you better and learn more about us, please fill out the pew card in front of you. Each week we designate one person to serve as an ambassador to welcome the newcomers. Today that person is Betty Forrest. We welcome all children in our worship service. The noises they make are sacred and holy. This church has a long history and we're proud of it. But what you most need to know is that you are welcome here, no matter who you are, who you love. Welcome. May you find something here that brings you comfort, makes you think more deeply, and challenges your best self.
Our opening words this morning are from Debbie Ford, a self-help author. To live in the light of a new day and an unimaginable and unpredictable future, you must become fully present to a deeper truth. Not a truth from your head, but a truth from your heart. Not a truth from your ego, but a truth from the highest source. And I'll now invite Julia Brock to come forward to help us light our chalice. And the chalice words are printed in your order of service this morning. We kindle this flame to remind ourselves of the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. Our first reading today is excerpted from an article by Catherine Lehman called The Nature of Truth. The nature of truth is multifaceted, ranging from objective, ultimate truths to subjective perceptions that shape individual realities. Some posit that truths exist independently of human perception, immutable and universal. These truths encompass scientific laws and mathematical principles, for instance, the law of gravity. Personal truths are shaped by myriad influences, cultural upbringing, societal norms, experiences, and individual perspectives. Consider contentious topics like politics or religion, areas where divergent truths often clash. A political belief held fervently by one might be seen as fallacious or deceitful by another. Religious doctrines, which offer guiding truth for millions, can be viewed as implausible by those adhering to contrasting faiths or subscribing to atheism. These differing perceptions stem not from an inherent falsehood, but from the lens through which individuals perceive the world.
I could have been more prepared and did this before, but I didn't. Pretty sure you can hear my heart pounding. Good morning. At this time, I would like to welcome all of our children, also those young at heart, to come down and kind of form a circle of sorts, like you. Okay. Are you all ready?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, you do that. We're going to start. Our book today is called Ruthie and the Not So Teeny Tiny Lie by Laura Rankin. Ruthie loved tiny things. The tinier, the better. Her toys were the tiniest imaginable. She had dinky dinosaurs, itty-bitty trains, ponies no bigger than your pinky, and teddy bears that were barely there. Ruthie loved finding tiny treasures too. At the beach, she searched for the smallest seashells. The flowers she picked were no bigger than fairy wings. She even had an eggshell from a hummingbird. And wherever Ruthie went, she carried some teeny tiny thing in her pocket. One day at school recess, after jump rope and swings, Ruthie took a turn on the twirling bar. When she landed, she saw something in the grass. It was a little box with a teensy window and an even tinier button on top. She couldn't believe her luck. It was a teeny tiny camera. Ruthie looked through its little window, then she pressed the button on top to take a picture. Click. Just like a real camera. This was absolutely the best thing Ruthie had ever found, and it was hers. Click, click. She tried it out every which way. Say cheese, clouds. Click. Say cheese, little bug. Click. Say cheese, school. Click. Say cheese, Martin. Click. But Martin did not say cheese. Martin said, "That's my camera." Ruthie was startled. "No, it's not, it's mine." "Give it to me," said Martin. "It's mine." "It is not, is too, is not," shouted Ruthie, and she raced back to class. "What is going on?" asked Mrs. Olson. "Ruthie's got my camera," cried Martin. "I got it for my birthday, and I dropped it on the playground." But Ruthie wanted that teeny tiny camera in the worst way. "It's mine," she yelled. "I got it for my birthday." Well, that was not true at all, not one teeny tiny bit. Mrs. Olson looked at Martin. She looked at Ruthie. "Goodness, this is a problem," she said. "The camera can't belong to both of you. I'll keep it safe in my desk drawer for now, and we'll talk about it again tomorrow." Ruthie's stomach flip-flopped all the rest of the day. She couldn't remember the answer to 2 + 2. When Mrs. Olson read a story, every word flew straight out the window. The bus ride home took forever. "Hi, Ruthie," said Mama. How was school? Okay, mumbled Ruthie. Dinner was macaroni and cheese, Ruthie's favorite, but she couldn't eat, not one little bite. Aren't you feeling well? Asked Papa. Not hungry, she said. At bedtime, Ruthie was close to tears. What's the matter? Asked Mama. So Ruthie told Mama and Papa the whole story. What do you think went wrong? Asked Papa. I said it was my camera, cried Ruthie, but it's not. It's going to be okay, said Papa. You made a mistake, and tomorrow you can fix it. I think Mrs. Olson and Martin will understand. But the next morning, Ruthie could barely eat. Maybe Mrs. Olson wouldn't understand, and maybe Ruthie would have to sit in the timeout corner, or maybe Martin would never talk to her again. Maybe no one would ever talk to her again. Not even one teeny weeny word. The school bell was about to ring. Ruthie took a deep breath and began the long walk to the front of the room. Mrs. Olson's desk seemed very far away. Good morning, Ruthie, said Mrs. Olson. I have something to tell you, said Ruthie in a very small voice. The camera isn't mine. I didn't get it for my birthday. I found it on the playground. Mrs. Olson didn't make her sit in the timeout chair. She didn't even look mad. Instead, she gave Ruthie a hug and a kiss on the top of the head. Thank you for telling the truth, said Mrs. Olson. That took a lot of courage. I am so very sorry, Martin, said Ruthie. It's okay, said Martin. And all at once, Ruthie's stomach stopped flip-flopping. She even skipped a little bit on her way back to her desk, and she got the right answer to 3 + 7. After lunch, Mrs. Olson read the funniest story Ruthie had ever heard. And on the short bus ride home, Ruthie realized she didn't even miss that teeny tiny camera. Not one teeny tiny bit. Before we sing out our kids, I wanted to highlight our beautiful window here. The truth shall make you free. The person up there that's depicted is intended to be androgynous. This is gonna make sense later on in the service. But yeah, that person is intended to be androgynous. What's androgyny? And no? It's kind of, you don't get to know the gender of the person because maybe truth is for everyone. And on that note,
I believe that money is another form of energy. The words I chose for both before and after our offering are from the UUA Worship Web, entitled, What We Say Yes To, by Erica Hewitt. The offering that we take each Sunday isn't just a stale habit. It's an opportunity to recommit to this place and to this people. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. And our offertory today is The Swan by Camille Saint-Saëns. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. The people of KUUC are committed to actively creating compassionate community and working for a fair and peaceful world. Our meditation today is called In-Betweenness, and I found this again on the UUA Worship Web. We, you and I, are in between right now. In between what was and what will be. In between who we were and who we will become. In between letting go and embracing. In between saying hello and saying goodbye. In-betweenness, it's a thing. In-betweenness is a time of fullness, a time of anticipation, a time of hope, a time of worry, a time of sadness. In-betweenness is a time of waiting, waiting for news, waiting for departure, waiting for arrival, waiting for death, waiting for life. In-betweenness is a time of transformation, a time of reflection, a time of action, a time of growing, a time of becoming. During this time of in-betweenness, of knowing and not knowing, I invite you to sit with whatever truths you are holding in your heart in this moment. Let us enter into the silence together. Amen, and blessed be. Our first hymn today is number 189, Light of Ages and of Nations.
Our second reading this morning is excerpted from the NPR website. To combat misinformation, start with connection, not correction, by Audrey Wynne. Misinformation and disinformation can be a threat to our democracy. It can divide communities. It can make it harder for people to make informed choices at the ballot box, at the grocery store, at the doctor's office. No one is immune. People just don't have the time, the cognitive resources, or even the motivation to literally fact-check every piece of information that comes their way. The terms misinformation and disinformation trigger a sort of reaction, and usually distaste. These terms have become politicized. What people consider misinformation and disinformation can be really different. Consider using the term rumor or misleading content instead of misinformation. People trust information more when it comes from sources or cultural context that they are familiar with. So talking to your loved ones can make a difference. The big picture idea here, start from a place of connection, not correction. Our third reading this morning is called High Vibration Habits: How to Raise Your Energy and Attract Positivity by S. Gee from her blog, Sage and Bloom. At their core, high vibration habits are all about cultivating a sense of well-being and positivity in our daily lives. They help us to release negative energy and emotions and focus on things that bring us joy and fulfillment. Examples of high vibration habits include practicing gratitude daily, engaging in regular exercise or movement, mindful breathing and meditation, spending time in nature, practicing kindness and empathy toward others, practicing positive affirmations, spending time with positive, uplifting people, listening to high vibration music, eating nutritious, healthy foods, finding your purpose, doing self-work, choosing your words and actions mindfully.
You've probably all heard the question, do you want the good news first or the bad news? This morning, I'm not giving you a choice. I'm going to start with some bad news first, followed by some good news. Algorithms, misinformation, disinformation, deep fake videos, fake news, AI-generated intelligence. These are all terms we've become familiar with over the last few years. I first watched the 2020 documentary entitled The Social Dilemma, available on Netflix and YouTube over a year ago. This 90-minute film features top executives from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and other social media sites talking about runaway data collection and algorithms. I'm quoting now from Roger Ebert's review of the film. What we learn in this movie is that our brains are being manipulated and even rewired by algorithms that are designed to get our attention and make us buy things, including buying into distorted ideas about the world, ourselves, and each other. The top executives I mentioned are telling us that even though they feel that their intentions were good, they own up to their part in how we got here and even apologize for it. They all left their social media platforms due to ethical concerns. One of them, Tristan Harris, a former design ethicist for Google, has since co-founded the Center for Humane Technology. The film explains that the business model for social media is to engage people on screen. Attention is the product being sold to advertisers. One executive claims that that sentence is too simplistic. He says it's the actual slight imperceptible change in your own behavior and perception that is the product. And I'm going to repeat that quote. It's the gradual, slight imperceptible change in your own behavior and perception that is the product. I learned about data surveillance and how internet companies, which by the way are the richest in history, use data collection to predict our actions. They use manipulative algorithms and persuasive technology to hack into people's psychology, and they can and do affect real world behavior. I'm not going to go into detail on all of the rather dark things that the movie explores, but a couple more that stood out to me were statistics on the spike in teen suicides, the fact that all media, including television, now use this same business model, and the fact that two people could type in the exact same search words on Google, and based on their individual algorithms, Google will give them two different answers. We could say then that finding truth has become more challenging. So where's the good news, you ask? At the end of the film are some great suggestions on ways to improve social media. I'm reading that teens are beginning to warn their peers about the addictive qualities of social media. Some schools are beginning to lock up students' phones at the beginning of the day, and those schools that have been doing this for a time are already noticing an improvement in grades and more connection and conversation in lunchrooms. Australia is creating legislation to ban social media for youth under 16 over concern for their mental health. Schools are highlighting critical thinking and teaching students how to question and fact-check what they are seeing and reading. I believe that knowledge is power. Watching this film opened my eyes to the power that social media and the internet have in any society, not just in the US. We can't fix a problem if we don't know it exists. Now I'm going to change the topic a bit. I first encountered the idea of the law of attraction in my late 20s. Now I know that some folks here are already squirming in their seats, but I'll ask you to relax, take a deep breath, and hear me out. Back in the mid to late 70s, I came across a book entitled 3 Magic Words by U.S. Anderson, published in 1954. It uses some God language, but the author writes that we all have access to, and actually are part of, what he calls the universal subconscious mind. I found the book fascinating. I believe the basic ideas in the book. We are made of energy. Our thoughts create our reality. We attract what we most think about. Change your thinking, change your life. Did I follow all the suggestions in the book? No, I was in my late 20s and busy living my wild and crazy life. It wasn't until the 2004 book and the 2006 movie called The Secret came out that I began to delve into the law of attraction again. I played with it, and I've had some successes and some failures. During this past year, I'd say I started to study it. I found other books on the law of attraction which went into greater detail than The Secret did. At its simplest level, the law is that like attracts like. Our bodies, down to our cells, are vibrating energies. Our thoughts have a vibration. Our thoughts create things. Someone had to think of a light bulb before a light bulb was invented, right? But come on, really? I mean, who the heck thought of dinosaurs? But seriously, quantum physics is beginning to prove this idea. In an article I read on Forbes' website entitled "The Mystery and Science Behind the Law of Attraction," it says, one of the founding fathers of quantum physics and Nobel Prize winner Max Planck once said, and I quote, "As a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you this much as a result of my research about atoms. There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particles of an atom to vibration. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter." End quote. Think about that for a minute. There is no matter until and unless mind enters the picture. Max Planck won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1918 in recognition of the services he rendered to the advancement of physics by his discovery of energy quanta. So quantum physics has been around for over 100 years. Now let's think for a moment about the power of our thoughts. We can become aware of subconscious thought patterns, and we can change them. It takes work, but to me it is essential growth work. What stories do you tell? Is your own self-talk serving you well? What thoughts and beliefs do you hold about any topic? Do you tend toward positive thoughts? Any book or teacher on the law of attraction mentions visualization and meditation as powerful manifestation tools. The aforementioned article on Forbes also delved into the power of prayer, or focused thought, if you prefer that phrase. Imagine the power of many people focusing their thoughts on peace and love. Viktor Frankl has a good reminder for us. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. I don't claim that the law of attraction has all of the answers to life's questions. People struggle with issues like disease, accidents, natural disasters, or babies born with deformities. I can't answer those questions for you. What I do know is that the more we can learn to control our thoughts and raise our vibration, the more loving and joyful we can become. How do we raise our vibration? A few things were mentioned in that third reading, and I think most of us here practice at least some of those things. One suggestion I would make is to take in only as much news as you need to. I personally am taking a break from social media. I get 2 newsletters via email. One of them is called 1440, and it tells you the top 3 news stories of the day, plus other topics of interest. The other is called Good News, and it is full of good news stories from around the world. I follow political historian Heather Cox Richardson's column. We do have to be informed, but we don't have to be inundated. Another suggestion is to focus more locally on your family, community, and city government. Now I'd like to talk for a moment about sound healing. In ancient Egypt, different tones were understood to heal different organs. These tones are measured in hertz. Some people believe that different hertz measures or tones correspond to the 7 chakras. Our 7-note scale of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It didn't sound right to only do 7, right? I knew somebody was going to do that. Anyway, that scale is based, where am I? Lost my place. Is based on an ancient solfeggio scale, which has a mathematical formula and hertz frequencies believed to heal physical, emotional, and spiritual vibrations. Look up solfeggio scale, it's interesting. According to quantum physics, the vibrational energy of our bodies can be influenced and synchronized through the use of sound, a concept known as entrainment. Even plants respond and thrive when hearing our voices or soothing music. I don't know about you, but I don't think music. I feel music. Music is a universal language. It transcends cultural differences and language barriers to connect people on a deep vibrational level. You're probably saying to yourself by now, okay, she's talked about the dangers of social media, the law of attraction, energy, vibration, sound healing, and music. When is she going to talk about truth? I'm getting there, I promise. When I first began thinking about leading a service on this topic, I did what I always do. I looked up the definition of the word truth. That which is true or in accordance with fact or reality, a fact or belief that is accepted as true. The Webster's Dictionary had this definition from 1828. Conformity to fact or reality, exact accordance with that which is or has been or will be. I found this older definition interesting, and to me it had some religious undertones. A paragraph that I found online was thought-provoking, although it is full of negatives. Truth is not simply whatever works. Truth is not what makes people feel good. Truth is not what the majority says is true. 51% of a group can reach a wrong conclusion. Truth is not defined by what is intended, because good intentions can still be wrong. Truth is not simply what is believed. A lie believed is still a lie. I found quite a lot of interesting quotes about truth. Two of my favorites are from Carl Jung: all true things must change, and only that which changes remains true. And from Khalil Gibran: say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. In an article I found on the UUA website, Tom Owen Toll had this to say: Unitarian Universalism has differed radically from mainstream Western and Eastern faiths by claiming that truth is multifaceted and elusive. Whereas there may be many different truths in our lives, the truth is not accessible to human grasp. In our religious communities, you will find no single pathway to God or enlightenment. We encourage our children to develop their own working wisdoms instead of inheriting the truths of their parents or tradition. He is basically saying that faith is whatever holds true for each one of us. So can we even find truth? Can documentary filmmakers and people who run fact-checking sites have their own biases? In his book, The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion, Jonathan Haidt posits that people's beliefs are driven primarily by intuition, with reason operating in the background to justify those beliefs. And I'm going to read that sentence one more time. Jonathan Haidt posits that people's beliefs are driven primarily by intuition, with reason operating in the background to justify those beliefs. He also proposes that people tend to be groupish rather than selfish and gravitate toward others who share their beliefs. I think most of us have a tendency to find and read things that already agree with our established point of view. And algorithms online probably expand that to the nth degree. So many questions. Are there my truths and your truths? Do we manifest our truths through quantum physics? What role do logic and reasoning play? Some people feel what is true for them. If love is a universal truth, isn't that felt rather than reasoned? Let me tell you about some of my truths. I believe we are energy fields operating in an infinitely large energy field. I believe that our thoughts create our reality. Einstein said that the most important decision you ever make is whether you live in a friendly universe or a hostile universe. Think about that. The most important decision you ever make is whether you live in a friendly universe or a hostile universe. I choose to live in a friendly universe. Many years ago, when I first read Barry Neil Kaufman's book, Happiness is a Choice, I knew I would always choose happiness. You know, from my late 20s and throughout my life, I've sometimes been described as immature. Anyone who knows me well knows I am still just a big kid at heart. I own a can coolie that says, "Immature, a word boring people use to describe fun people." I like living in my positivity bubble. I believe that our emotions have a vibrational frequency too. Science doesn't back me up on that one yet. But we can feel in our bodies that feelings of worry, fear, anger, blame, and guilt are all lower vibrational emotions, whereas feelings of hopefulness, contentment, positive expectation, joy, and love are all higher vibration emotions. I believe that a grateful, loving, and positive attitude will bring more of those things and feelings into your life. I believe that we have to connect with each other, and yes, even with those that have opposing political views. Given what we know about the effects of social media, can we have compassion for people who probably felt that they were doing the best for their family, even if we feel that they may have been misled? Healing will not happen without connection. I'm not trying to minimize or negate your worries or fears. Your feelings are valid. I let myself feel all those lower emotional vibrations on and off for a week after November 5th. Writing down my worries in church last week helped me to release them. So many people from this congregation have helped me to reset over the years. I remember Judy Saunders leading the service after the 2016 election. She also talked about the law of attraction, which, by the way, doesn't recognize negatives. Negative attention is still attention, and energy flows where attention goes. Ask yourself who got the most attention in both the 2016 and the 2024 election. Then ask yourself if worry and fear are just giving your attention to what you don't want. Judy also spoke about our power to affect positive change in our communities, our nation, and the world. I can hear Devorah Kelly, a former member now living in Mexico, telling me to trust the process. And Melinda Hildreth Honkala, now homebound, interrupting a complaint from me during a membership meeting and practically shouting, "Okay, so what are we going to do about it?" I heard Wendy Byrne talk about connecting with a person holding the opposing party's political sign at a rally. I heard Carol Hill talk about how another person helped her to feel a bit better about the election. Lindsay Bartlett likes to assume that everyone is acting with best intentions. This congregation continually urges me to connect with others and answer the call of love. We really did wake up on November 6th to the exact same world. Change will come, some good and some bad. But hasn't it always been that way? Think about the civil rights era. We lived through that challenging time by showing up for each other and by holding hands and singing. And I'll let you think about that song for a minute. We got through it by just plain persevering. Now more than ever, we need to be the change we want to see in the world. Some of you probably heard of something called the butterfly effect. The term was coined in the 1960s by Edward Lorenz, a meteorology professor at MIT who studied weather patterns. The innumerable interconnections of nature, Lorenz noted, mean a butterfly's flap could cause a tornado, or for all we know, could prevent one. The term eventually came to mean that small things could have a big impact. I believe that one person can make a difference, that one smile or kind word could save a life. We may not hold the same truths. We may be on different paths on this journey. We may all be vibrating at different frequencies. I believe that we can heal ourselves, each other, and the world. I believe it's okay to laugh and feel joy, even when there is grief hovering underneath. We can look for humor wherever we can find it. We can look for the good in each other and try to find common ground. We can try to raise our vibration to do the things that bring us joy, to be in nature and listen to her healing sounds, to listen to beautiful music, to practice deep listening, to offer a gentle touch. We may break a bit, but we will show up for each other. We can each visualize and meditate and focus our thoughts on what we do want, always what we do want, on a peaceful and loving world. We are not powerless. The world needs each and every one of us. I'll end with a quote from Mark Nepo. It returns to me a simple if. I think that if what you are thinking and feeling and knowing and being is love, then you have found your truth. Okay, and we have hymn number 169, We Shall Overcome. And I'll now call Julia Brock forward again to extinguish our chalice. And the words for extinguishing are printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with the world until we are together again. And the good words for our leave taking are from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. And our postlude is The Entertainer.